Okay, welcome back. Last video for today. So, for this day 2 notes, you should have received this card. And all I did was I took it from this part here. Okay, I cannot stress to you how important these vocabulary words are. And you have to know what they mean. And then be able to tell me, like, if you see P implies Q, it means if P, then Q. So, let's go through this quickly. Conditional is a P, then Q. Okay, so if P, then Q. And then there is a mathematical example over here for you, and then it tells you the truth value of that statement. So, if measure of angle A is 15 degrees, then angle A is a Q. True. The converse is when you flip the P and the Q. So now you're going to say if Q, then P. So all I did was I flipped the hypothesis and the conclusion. So if an angle A is acute, then the measure of angle A is 15 degrees. That's false, because if an angle is acute, it could be anything less than 90. It doesn't have to be exactly 15 degrees. Okay? The inverse is when you negate or make the conditional negative. So, it is important to know that conditional and inverse are like the opposite of each other. If P, then Q. If not P, then not Q. So if the measure of angle A is not 15 degrees, then angle A is not acute. Well, that's still false, because this could be 23, it could be 47, it could be anything less than 90. Okay? But then the last one is called the contrapositive, and this one I think of as the opposite of the converse. So the converse was if Q, then P. But the contrapositive is where you just negate the converse. So you would say, if not Q, then not P. So you have to think of these going together. Okay? So same thing here. You have to think that converse and contrapositive go together. Conditional and inverse go together. Probably not the wisest decision to use yellow. Alright, so what does that mean for the chart? Okay, first of all, there's a lot of stuff there. So I gave you the P and the Q up here. The figure is a square. The figure is a quadrilateral. And all you had to do, which is a lot, I guess, but you have to fill in your symbols, which are listed here on your little chart, which is above too. Okay, and then apply these symbols to the actual phrases. Okay, using P and Q. So, if P, then Q, then if this, then this happened. So I wrote that down. Okay? Converse, I just flipped those around. Right here. For inverse, remember, this means I'm taking the conditional statement, I'm rewriting this statement here, and I'm just putting the word not in the sentence, in the if part and the then part. Okay? So if the figure is not a square, then it is not a quadrilateral. I should have wrote the word then. Okay. So converse, we flip the P and the Q. So if the figure is a quadrilateral, then the figure is a square. Alright, so now we take that and we just negate it. So instead of is a quadrilateral, now we're going to say is not a quadrilateral. Then the figure is not a square. So make sure you put not in there. Okay. So contrapositive is the opposite of the converse. Okay. We could say the negation of the converse. Alright, now, when I went through them, I came up with the truth values: true, false, false, true. So the counter example was that a rectangle is not a square, which is true. Not always. Counterexample, parallelograms, kites, rectangles, trapezoids, and rhombus. So if we're looking at the inverse, if the figure is not a square, then it is not a quadrilateral. It's false. It could be any of these items down here. And then the contrapositive, it was a true statement. So if it was a true statement, we don't need a counterexample because it's already true. Alright, so now, for your assignment, I know it's a packet because it's day 1 and day 2 put together. But on the back of day 2, you have a chart that looks like this right here. Okay? And it is important you know your symbols to help you write your sentences. And then I set it up pretty much the same. So you're given these, and then you have to go write it. So the if, the then. The if, or the then, and then the if. You have to just follow the pattern.